This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. It's a half hour of local conversation every Saturday morning at this time. It is sponsored by Independent Bank. And Katie Huckle is my co-host, and one of the high flyers on this show is Doreen Lanc. And that is because she's got great news to share with us every time about the Cadillac Area Community Foundation, and she's plugged into the community. So we love having her on the show.
Welcome, Doreen.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I love to talk about the foundation and what we're doing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want something done in Cadillac, call this lady. If you want to know how to get something done in Cadillac, call this lady. You know, I like to just pop into her office periodically because I can't believe some of the things that she tackles, from someone with just like a personal problem. They call her, and she's the director of a very large foundation. There's a $20 million balance at the Cadillac Area Community Foundation, but people call her for all reasons. Can you give us some examples of what I'm talking about?
A lot of them are veterans. The veterans, we're like the hub of the community for help sometimes. And a few years ago when we were doing a strategic plan, they wanted to be the hub of the community. Well, we're there for sure. But we had a veteran that was moving. He's like, can you help me? I mean, could you help us move? Because we don't have anyone to help us. Well, my daughter, Ashley, was helping them move, and a mouse jumped out of a desk drawer onto her shirt. She said, no more. Do not ask me to do this again.
Well, they are quite the team, Doreen and Ashley. You know, they step up for one another and get things done in the community, and they're just a go-to duo. So I ran into her on the street, and I said, please come and be on the show. And what we wanted to kind of focus on with us being back to school and all those things is our students and the amount of donors that would like to help students with continuing education. I know you had some great success just recently with physician recruitment to the area.
Yes.
Could you share some of your stories with us?
Yes, we had a dinner last Saturday night, and it's a reverse scholarship. Dr. Nair had left us some funds to do this scholarship, and it's to help pay off student loans if someone comes and works and lives in Wexford and Missaukee County. And we have some criteria. It's to do with medical, but it could be a physical therapist, could be a PA, it could be a doctor's assistant. I mean, there's a lot of things that it could cover. So we want to keep that open. We didn't want to, have it so fine lined that somebody might not call and we want them here or we need them here. But as far as the students, we work with the students a lot in the spring, make sure they're filling out their applications, helping them. Last year we had a huge hiccup with FAFSA. So finally we just told the kids, never mind, just get us your apps.
Yeah, because they redesigned the FAFSA forms, and they were supposed to be out in November, and then they weren't even out in December. Everything was delayed.
They weren't even out in June yet.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it's already overwhelming, FAFSA.
It is, especially for children from families who have never attended college.
Right.
It is completely overwhelming.
Right.
It is very overwhelming. So we try to work with the kids, the families, and make sure. We had 2 big donors this past year for music schools, which was really exciting. We had a $400,000 gift and a $200,000 gift.
Wow.
A $200,000, yeah. It was huge for music. That was great. Most of the kids that were going to college got some kind of scholarship. And they were pretty good-sized scholarships that they give out.
I mean, what a legacy to live, the small community, to leave the small community of Mesick, to be sending kids on to college, and maybe someone in their family's never even gone to college before.
And most of these kids were the first generation to go to a college. They were going to Traverse City. A lot of them were going to Traverse City, but that's a great place to start.
Absolutely.
They're not sure what they want to do, but they need to get those classes under their, wings. So that's a great place to start.
We always recommend, there's a lot of students that want that big campus experience from the beginning, but if you're not particular about it, starting at a place like NMC is really, really good because it's so much cheaper.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And what I found as a freshman, and when you talk to other freshmen, you can find out what you don't want to do.
That's every bit as important as what you do.
It is. I mean, I look at my mother, who's few credits short of a PhD in English, and she thought she wanted to be a nurse, and then she realized that blood made her sick. Well, that's something you want to find out sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
But so can you talk to us a little bit about I have something to share because this is an incredible number. Doreen has been with the foundation for 7 years. And when she started as director, the balance, and this is endowed monies, the balance at the foundation was $7 million. Today, in September of 2024, the balance is over $20 million. How did you do it?
I think it's because we're doing such good work and we're doing things. We're not waiting for people to come to us. We're hearing about it on the street and we're calling them up and say, we can help you. And we're letting people know what we do. People want to know what their money is being spent on. We just did, and I'm really excited about this. I worked with one of the counselors. She has to do with the homeless kids in school, and they had identified 100 children that are homeless in CAP school. So we got together, and it's like, what can we do to go back to school to make them feel better? Well, we bought them all new tennis shoes. And they were good tennis shoes, not cheap ones. They bought, Dunham's was really great about handling it. We were using coupons every place we could. But all these kids, they're so excited about getting these new shoes. Then the other thing that we identified at Mac Trail, that some of these homeless kids and children, they wanted a nice water bottle like everybody else and chapstick. They were always asking for chapsticks or something, Vaseline or something to put on their lips. So the Youth Advisory Committee just approved $1,000 to get water bottles and chapsticks for the Mac Trial kids.
Isn't that incredible? And again, it's a reminder of the things we take for granted.
We do. And I will tell you, for a kid to be considered, for someone to be considered homeless, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're living in a tent in the woods. It means that they could be hopping couches from place to place. They don't have a stable a consistent address to stay at. But it's that they're still considered homeless under those circumstances. So, we're seeing it in our classroom, and it's really hard for students like that who are worrying about surviving.
Right.
Yes.
To come to class and learn.
Yeah.
Because survival is number one for them, and that's totally understandable.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an overwhelming problem.
It is really overwhelming. We did hear that Lake City, and we're all over the place. We're in Manton, Mazik, Lake City. We heard that they had bought washers and dryers so kids could wash their clothes and stuff at school. So Ashley and I got in the Jeep, went out to Walmart, and bought like 30 towels, 30 washcloths, 30 deodorant for girls and boys, shampoo, you name it, and delivered it to the school. Not dishwashing, but clothes washing. And they were just shocked. They're like, well, we saw this on Facebook, and we want to help. These kids, it's not their fault.
No,
it's
not. Nope.
And they need to know that people care.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, and let them still have their pride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are some other things, like what's on the docket, for 2025? What are some goals that you have?
We've been talking about that because our new year starts October 1st. So we have a list of things. We're working on our strategic plan. We we look at it all the time, but we don't really review it like we should as a team. So we are looking at that. The other thing is just getting out to make sure that people are taken care of. They have food, clothing, the necessities of life. We have heard that the heating expense is going to be high this year. There's not as much money coming down from the government. So we want to make sure that we get the word out that we can help Love Inc. We can assist Salvation Army. We cannot give to individuals, but we can help them to help others. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure they know that.
That's awesome. You're ahead of it, proactive.
Yes, we want to be proactive. The veterans, we're buying wood and filling propane tanks. And veterans, they're a whole different category. They're so humble. and they don't want to ask. And sometimes I just ask them, did you think a check was going to show up in the mail?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the tank's on 2%. It takes me longer than that to get a truck out there to fill it. So they're so humble, but I don't think in the last couple of years we've turned anybody away. We make sure they're taken care of. If we can't do it, we'll find somebody that will.
I'm relieved to hear this because we've had both the Salvation Army and Love in the Name of Christ on the show, and
very recently.
And what we're hearing is, Meep Sada money. There's another fund at the state out of emergency funds, and you just wonder, being a community member, what are we supposed to be doing? So how would you answer that? I mean, what should community members do to support your organization and these nonprofits?
Well, everything we do goes to the nonprofits, and the nonprofits help the individuals and families that are out there. So if you have extra money or, clothing, shoes, make sure it's getting to Salvation Army. Make sure it's getting to Love Inc. because they have these people walking through their doorway every day.
Okay.
So I would just help where you can. The Salvation Army, I know, needs bell ringers so they don't have to hire people. So anything you can do. There's a lot of volunteerism opportunities out there, and it doesn't hurt, and it feels so good to do it.
It sure does.
Yeah.
So to follow your activities and your board's activities, what's the best way for people to know what the foundation is up to? Because it seems like you're always doing something new and always identifying a need. How can we follow you?
Yes, on Facebook. We're on Facebook. You can Google us. We also have a Facebook in Missaukee County. We post things, a couple times a week so people know what we're doing and what we're up to. We have, there's great things that are coming up. There's a lot of issues, but there's good things too. So we like to talk about the good things. And with winter coming, I know there's going to be struggles. So we want to make sure that we're ahead of it. But follow us on Facebook.
The $20 million, I know you've got some unallocated. So for those of our listeners that don't know, these are endowed funds. So the foundation is spending the interest and income and preserving the principal in perpetuity for the community. And so can you talk a little bit about, if I'm out, like your folks from MESIC, for example, they gave you an example of, we're going to leave you X amount of money, but we want to make sure this goes. How does that process work?
We have a 5% spending policy. So, this money is there forever. It's long term. You're not looking at giving the foundation money on a short term. It's going to be there forever. And I think there was maybe 1 year a while ago that there wasn't 5% to spend, so that we did less. We did what we could, but normally we don't have a problem with the 5%.
Okay,
it's a good number.
Okay,
most foundations are using that level.
Okay, good to know. Also, let's say, because Rich is a media production guy, so let's say when he goes to the big DJ booth in the sky someday, before he passes, says to you, I'm going to leave you X and I want this to go towards X. He could do something like that. You were going to follow donor intent if someone's got a particular field of interest as a donor, right?
And we talk to them. That's the first thing we do. We find out what their passions are, where they want their money to go. If it's scholarships, what kind of scholarship? Is it medical? Is it science? You tell us what you'd like to, what your passion is, and we'll work with that. We'll put it in agreement. And when I went to the foundation, I think there was like 62 agreements, and you have to read them all because you have to know what the intent of the donor is.
Oh, there's 62 different funds.
Right now we have close to 90.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And so following the wishes of that donor.
Yes, it's complicated at times because some of them are not real clear, but we try to make it as clear as possible where they want their funds to go.
You ever been in a situation where you had a donor not be as specific as you wanted them to be as far as where they wanted their funds to go? Did you have to clarify with the family, or how did that work?
No, I have not had that. Usually they have a mission when they're coming to us where they want them to go. And then we have some of them that are unrestricted. We have probably 7 or 8 funds that are unrestricted that we could use them for the needs of the community.
Okay.
And that's always helpful for us because that way we have the leverage to, if it's, a food truck, or if it's shoes, or if it's the sleeping bags for winter, we can use those funds, that are unrestricted. We just did $25,000 for the Dig and Seal project, and that come from unrestricted funds.
Awesome. Well, and think about it. Okay, so if you're a donor in 2024, how do you know what the needs are going to be, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
And so it's trusting the leadership of the community and your very carefully selected board, to bring you the needs and then judiciously decide where should this money go. I want to go back to scholarships if we've got parents and grandparents that are listening. I know sometimes that the child is leaving and going on, and what do the expenses look like, and filling out FAFSA and housing, and if they're going to move, and what fields should they go into. What's the best way for them to look at scholarship opportunities through the Cadillac Area Community Foundation?
There's some of our scholarships that are for certain things, environment, or a teacher if you're going to be an elementary teacher. But there's other ones that are just unrestricted of what you want to do, which is really nice. It's just to help you get through college and pay for your books and your housing and all the expenses that go along with it. So there's a lot of options.
How common is it for you and your organization to go through a scholarship window and have scholarships that end up being unapplied for?
This year we did this past year we did have some that were none of the kids were going into that profession because they were for a certain thing. So so it makes it a little difficult for that, but we still give away $166,000 worth of scholarships this year.
That's amazing.
It's a lot of money. And, it isn't until you get out into the big world and figure out how many hours do I need to work to pay for a new sofa, to pay for a vacation, to pay for a trip to the grocery store.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, looking back, it's like that scholarship money would have been really nice.
I don't think they think about it until we really push them.
Yeah.
We really have to talk to them and say there's no reason why you would do this. I think some kids have an easy life, and there is no reason for them not to apply for scholarships. And then there's kids that should be applying for scholarships that don't have the help or think I'm not going to get it. So those are the ones we really want to attract to the community foundation to help them.
Okay. Well, and I can tell you that at the end of that senior year comes up fast.
It does.
I mean, right now we are 4 weeks into the school year, and we're already trying to let our seniors know the end is a lot closer than you think it is of your high school career. So it's time to start thinking about scholarships, plans beyond, and it's perfectly okay. People go to college, they change their majors, they make decisions. That what seemed attractive as a career 6 months ago has changed completely. It's okay, but start thinking about it at this point.
Yes. I've had parents already, contact me and say, what do I need to do? And a lot of kids have their scholarships in by Christmas. Over Christmas vacation, they're handing in their scholarship. And then there's some we're begging to get in, and they're due like in 12 hours. I had one student, he told me, they told me there wasn't anything for me to apply for. And this was about 3 years ago. And I said, yes, there is. You have 24 hours to get it to me. And he ended up getting a $2,500 scholarship.
Incredible. I mean, what a success story.
Your deadline is usually around April 1, right?
April 1 to March 15th.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's time to start thinking about parents. If you get nothing else out of this program, think about scholarships. Think about it.
Right. Like take the burden off of you and your kids and
we'll help you.
Right.
That's just it. You know, we'll grab the laptop and we'll go down and we'll help them right at the school. They can come to our office afterwards. Luckily, I have Ashley that wasn't that long ago that she was doing scholarships for herself. So she has it all down pat. She knows the ins and outs of all the scholarships, and then she does all the committee work, and then we have committees look at them, and then we love giving out scholarships at breakfasts and receptions. That's like the greatest thing.
Mm-hmm. To see the smile on their faces. Yep. I worked for this, and then I applied for this, and I saw it through, and that's really special. Tell us about the back to the dinner that you had, to honor Dr. Nair. Tell us how many people were there. Can you? Because when I ran into you, you were really excited and happy about the success of that event.
It was very successful, and Herman did the food, and it was outstanding. He knocked it out of the park. I think my youth advisory committee kids that were there picking up dishes and stuff, I thought they were going to lick the bowl of the... that mousse was, I don't know how he makes it, but it's the best mousse I've ever had. And I'm pretty sure they were looking at it like that. But we had 68 people, 100%. We had everybody there that made a donation and a reservation. So that was, that was great to begin with, that we had everybody there. Jennifer Mitchell talked about Dr. Nair's wishes, and we talked about the scholarship, and it was just a really nice event. It was a great night. We had it at the greenhouse, and it was, we couldn't ask for anything better.
Mm-hmm. And just that night, you raised how much money?
Around $20,000. Yes, $20,000. So I was going to look today to see what the total is, but I'm pretty sure we're up in the $140,000 range of that scholarship.
And this is the one where you are trying to attract health work doctors to Cadillac.
Correct.
So it's interesting that this comes up, because I was just having a conversation with my dad this past weekend, who is 86, and he has a neurologist in Alpena who is retired. And now he has to go to Petoskey to see a neurologist. That is a difficult thing to ask someone who is 86 years old to hop in the car and go do.
And a big change.
And a huge change. So this kind of scholarship is for rural areas like what we live in is huge.
Yes, it's a recruitment tool, and that's how we're going to use it, because we need to have those services in Cadillac. I mean, Cadillac has a lot of manufacturing. We have a lot of businesses. We have the Walmart, the Meijer, and we need to have those services so people aren't going to Traverse City, or they don't have to travel to Grand Rapids or Petoskey. So anybody that we can attract to get to Cadillac is a good thing.
And having those services makes Cadillac a more attractive area for people to relocate in general.
Correct, yeah.
And retire. I was meeting with the owners of RE/MAX about a week ago, and they were telling me, in this crazy housing market, and we know we've got housing issues, we know we have childcare issues, we know that we're working on it, right? They're like, Cadillac's growing. We're growing. We've got people moving here because they have friends here, because of all 4 of our seasons. In particular, we're seeing a migration from Texas because of the heat. Now we've got milder winters. We've seen last winter and on deck for this winter, and we're becoming a destination. That's something to be proud of. But it takes growth, and it takes identifying needs that need to be met so that the community can thrive. And you're a cornerstone in that, Doreen.
Well, we just had a donor come in a couple weeks ago. They're from Kalamazoo, and they had a business down there, and they sold the business. They had a cottage up here, and they decided this is where they wanted to retire because they had come up here on summer vacations. They love it here. And I thought that was fantastic that they were moving here. I guess their son's really upset with him because he's still in Kalamazoo and he's a single, and he's like, no more dinners and
no more cookies from mom.
So we might get a new son up here. Who knows? Right. But that was really interesting to have them come in and talk to us and give us this large check just because they love the community and want to be a part of it.
That's really special.
It is.
But again, you're our ambassador and you're our face. And I'm just so glad that when people ask you questions, they very rarely hear the word no, Rich.
Or I don't know. Right?
Or I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, your mantra is, give me a minute, let me figure that out, and I'll get back with you. I came into her office one day, and she'd had an elderly fellow that had lost somebody and just was trying to cope with that and the next steps involved with that. And you called Doreen for the next steps involved in that. And she was giving him, okay, first do this and that, and let me help you with this. And I'm like, if we had to write a resume for Doreen in terms of what her toolbox and her skill set looks like, I don't know. I mean, I giggled because running the youth advisory committee, that's a whole nother goat rodeo. You know, she's got young people, high schoolers. And I could remember my daughter being on that committee, and they had traveled away to a conference. And she said, Mom, I pulled Doreen over and I said, listen, if we get everything done that we need to, do you think you could take the van and maybe have a quick stop at TJ Maxx? And I said, you didn't. And she said, yeah, I did. And I said, did she do it? And she said, oh, absolutely.
Then we went to Starbucks.
But I said, she's everybody's pal, you know?
We've got about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about the Youth Advisory Committee and what their role is and how they serve your office?
The students have quite a bit of money, so they have about $35,000 a year that they can spend.
And where does that money come from?
That is the 5%. Actually, they have a lot more than the 5%, but we only give them $35,000 a year.
Gotcha.
But they are very good about sorting out grants. They ask all the right questions. They take the time to say, well, how many are we really helping? Are we helping as many as we want to? You know, they're very good about it. I really enjoy the youth advisory students. I love how they sort things out, and they look at the project or the program to make sure, is this going to really help somebody? Is somebody really going to join this? And it's really, you know, fun. We meet on the Mondays, the first Monday of the month, and 7:15 in the morning, and they're all there, and they're not as chipper as I'd like them to be, but they're all there.
Not on a Monday morning at 7:15.
But they're great.
But you're teaching them to become good citizens and good stewards of the community at an age when that really isn't taught. So it's very important, I think.
In the volunteerism, we volunteer for so many things. We're out and about all the time. They helped with Breakfast with Santa. They help with the dinner Saturday night. They'll help with Habitats Festival. And they'll do Shop with the Hero. They'll take a student and shop with them. So they're involved in everything I'm involved in. So I think they enjoy that too. I take them to the governor's breakfast. That's like the go-to thing. Have to go to the governor's breakfast.
It's incredible because at a young age you're creating little philanthropists. It's not just okay, we're going to reach out and do something in the community, but we're going to give some money away also. And I think that those students at the high school level, I think that gives them a reputation as a leader.
I think they really enjoy it. They like the news interviews. I try to have the news out there all the time so that for them to talk to them, not me. And I think they really enjoy that they're a part of the community and are able to do this.
Well, I think the next time we see you, you need to bring some of them in here so we can talk to them.
Oh, I'd love
here.
that.
I don't think we've done that yet.
Right? No, we haven't. And one of the things that I love is that they decide. They are given the money, right? But they decide how they're going to spend it. And like you mentioned, how many students, this thing with the water bottles and the chapstick, we just assume everybody's got a water bottle and a chapstick. And it's also good for them to know the need out there.
Yes.
So, yeah, you touch so many people, Doreen, just with your magic.
We try.
Well, where do we go to find more information about the Cadillac Area Community Foundation? I know there's a Facebook page. You got a website, right?
Yes, we have a website, which a new one is going to be coming up in a couple weeks. But they can, just Google us. Actually, the phone number goes right to my phone. So I have phone calls all weekend, evenings. You can get a hold of me.
And all the information in time about all of those scholarships will be posted on that website.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's very important because it's coming up quick.
Right?
All right. Doreen Lanc, our guest on Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank. Doreen, thank you for all you do for the community. We
Thank you.
appreciate having you on. Katie,
Thanks.
we'll see you next week.
Can't wait.
More time, more local chat here, same time, same station, 107.9 CDY on Cadillac Unscripted.